Sweet. All right, so first thing, we're just gonna go over some orientation stuff. There we go. Sweet. So as much as LearningFuze is a technical, programming program, we're not only just here to, teach you how to code and teach you how to program, we're here to also help you get a job. So a lot of this is us working with employers, them telling us what they actually value in employees, what are they looking for when they actually hire a LearningFuze grad. So here are just some kind of things that we can work on as we get into the program that we can kind of emphasize and make sure that we're working on so that we're ready to get a job once we get down to the workforce. So first and foremost, employers are looking for people that have a growth mindset. So they're looking for people that tackle new and interesting problems, which means that they need team members that can see not just possible solutions, not just problems, but that can also see possible solutions. So what does this look like in the workplace? Well, be solutions oriented. Our job as developers is fixing problems, right? There's lots of ways of how we can fix a problem. So we always want to stay kind of open to our approach to problem solving. Maybe there's multiple different ways to approach a problem. So always be thinking from a solutions oriented standpoint, always be thinking about different ways of how you can approach it. Be open to improving and learning new things. Development is constantly changing. The way that we write code now is different than the way that we wrote code 10 years ago. It's different than the way that we're going to write code 10 years from now. So you always want to be open. You always want to be learning new things, improving. You'll come across maybe some older people in their career that are very stuck and hesitant on like one technology because it's how they've kind of built their career or whatnot, and they're very hesitant to like move forward. But trends come and go. Languages that are popular now won't be popular forever. Same thing with frameworks. So you always want to be kind of open to learning new things because it may be the best point for your career. Stay flexible in your approach to problem solving, kind of what we were talking about with the solutions orientedness, that you want to stay flexible in your approach to solving problems. Be solutions oriented. There's always going to be multiple ways to come across and to solve something. What does that mean here at LearningFuze? It means let yourself be a beginner that is striving for excellence. And I like how it says excellence and it doesn't say perfection. Perfection means that like you have accomplished everything that there is to accomplish. There's no more room or growth for you to move forward. You are perfect. There's nothing better that you can do. Excellence means you show up every single day, you give 100%. You are saying, I am doing the best that I'm currently capable of doing, but I know and I'm open to the possibility of being able to grow my skills or to be able to expand more. So we're looking for excellence. I'm not necessarily looking for perfection. I just want you here giving me your all every single day and trying your best. What does this also mean? It means learn from your mistakes. You're going to be making lots and lots and lots of mistakes, but mistakes are good because that means that there's a learning opportunity that gets to come from it. So just let yourself be a beginner, let yourself make those mistakes, try and learn from those mistakes, and then get comfortable with being uncomfortable, which is a little bit weird, because it's how do you get comfortable when you're feeling uncomfortable? But there's a lot of personal growth that happens with that. I'm not sure if anyone is familiar. There's a YouTube channel called Yes Theory, or You Seek Discomfort. I'm not sure if anyone's ever heard of it, but I really enjoy them. Their whole motto is seek discomfort, which means that they literally try to look for uncomfortable or situations that make them feel discomfort. Because I'm not sure if you've ever tried something that maybe you didn't think that you were gonna like and you walked away actually really enjoying it. Is that sometimes we come with these preconceived notions of how we're going to feel, how we're going to respond to these things. But when we're actually faced with them, we actually realize that maybe we enjoyed them and we actually learned a whole lot for it. So as a developer, we're constantly in uncomfortable situations. I have to try to solve a problem or fix this bug. Maybe I'm working on a new language or a new project that I'm not fully familiar with, and I need to work on getting familiar. So just getting to a point where you at least feel comfortable being in an uncomfortable environment, where you feel like you can at least find your footing and get your foundation, it'll be very, very, very valuable because you'll get in a lot of little uncomfortable situations throughout your career. Any questions about growth mindset? All right, let's move on to conscientiousness. Let me grab my drink real quick.
Can we access this on the repository? I cannot see it.
No, this is a separate thing, but I can give you access after.
No, it's on the master grand channel.
No, this is a whole different repository that we have, but yeah, I can share something. All right, so next is conscientiousness. So employers are going to be looking for team members who finish things as requested, but they also take pride in doing quality work. So what does this mean in the workplace? It means stay organized, look out for and address small mistakes on your own. That can be just kind of like you see a piece of paper on the ground, you just pick it up and throw it away. Just look out for small little mistakes. If you notice a small little bug or a small little visual thing, don't just be like, I hope my boss doesn't catch that, and just kind of let it go by. It's try to fix those things as you come across them, keep an eye out for it. And then you want to follow the work team's workflows consistently. Every single team is going to have a different way of how they do things. Some teams may have you write your commit messages in a certain way. Some teams may have you name your branches in a certain way. Some teams may have you, they just have their own workflows. They may have you leave comments. They may have you name things a certain way. So your job, as soon as you get hired, is to try to understand all of those workflows, understand those needs, learn them, start abiding by them, getting used to them. And then if you feel like you have any suggestions or improvements, then you can voice those. But before you're able to kind of voice and adjust the team's workflow, you have to understand them first and kind of follow them. So when you get hired, it's important that you are migrating into their environment. They're not necessarily migrating into your environment. So you need to figure out what the team is expecting of you and become that. What does that mean here at LearningFuze? It means monitor your actions and your habits. So keep an eye out if you feel like you see that you have a habit of checking your phone a lot or just miscellaneous random actions or habits. Double check your work before turning it in. This is always going to be a big one. I'm going to review every single person's pull request, so I'll double check your work too. But before you actually submit it, just double check your code. Make sure that you followed and did everything that you were supposed to. Make sure you included your screenshot, everything kind of looks good. So just get in the habit of maybe trying to double check your work. And then be careful not to skip any instructions. I'm sure as you're familiar with the prep course, our instructions will really build off of each other. So if you just so happen to miss a step or two, then it can get you down kind of a rabbit hole because you missed a little bit of the setup. So just make sure that you try your best not to skip any instructions, and maybe just go back and reread just to make sure that you're following along. Any questions about this one? All right. And the next one is communication. So employers want to bring strong communicators into their teams, which means that they need to use text, voice, video, and in-person communication effectively. So what does that mean in the workplace? It means say what you mean and listen intently. It means be empathetic to coworkers and management. I know this is something that even I can catch myself where, you get frustrated at a boss or a coworker and you're like, gosh, why, I wish they would understand how much work I got on my plate, or you see them, you feel like they're not pulling their weight, or maybe they're just coming off as a little snappy that day. But you don't know what's going on in their life. At the end of the day, we're all humans. We all go through challenges. You don't know what they're going through with their family, their situation, or whatnot. So just try to be empathetic as possible. Try to be as understanding. Try to just treat everyone how you would want to be treated. Also, be responsive to email and chat messages. This is very important, especially depending on where you work. At my last job, I worked at like a international company. So I would have people that were in France, and then I would have other people that were in Argentina, and then I have other people in the East Coast, other people in the West Coast. So it was very important that I always left good updates because we weren't always working at the same time. So if I ended my workday before someone else was about to start their workday or vice versa, if we weren't on full communication of where we left off, well, then maybe, someone starts a whole workday not really knowing where I left off. So just very, very important to communicate, especially in an environment like that where everyone's so spread out and be between. But just always be responsive to email, any single chat message you would ever get at the workplace. What does that mean at LearningFuze? It means you can send messages to instructors if you need help and monitor notifications. So the way that our general first help is going to be is we'll do a lot of back and forth over Slack. So especially for my remote folks, we'll do a back and forth on Slack. And then if we feel like we still need a little bit more help, then I'll pull you guys into a breakout room and then we'll do some one-on-one assistance there. In person, we will still also start our initial contact on Slack, mainly just because a lot of developer jobs are still remote. So we want to build up both skills. We want to get you used to how to get help in a remote environment while also being able to get help in the in-person environment. So we'll do the exact same flow. We'll start off with Slack. We'll do kind of a back and forth. And if we feel like we're just not understanding each other, we just need to do a deeper discussion, then I'll come over to your desk and then I'll sit next to you and then we'll explain things a little bit more in depth. But we'll start off with a back and forth on Slack. At LearningFuze, keep staff members informed if you have time delays or issues blocking your progress. So if you're ever going to be late to anything, please let me know as soon as possible. So if you are, you start driving here and you realize there's an accident or something, just shoot me a quick message. Hey, Sean, I'm going to be a little bit late. Same for the remote people, although sure there's not a lot of traffic from the bed to the computer, but who knows, maybe just let me know if something comes up. If you have appointments or anything like that, just let me know as soon as possible. As far as missing days, we'll have an expectations doc and we'll go over the expectations doc and missing days or whatnot. But with a boot camp like this, we cover a lot of ground in even just one day. So on average, we have about 4 exercises a day. So if you think that if you were to miss 2 days, you're now missing 8 exercises worth of work that you're gonna have to catch up on. So try your best not to miss days. I understand people get sick, stuff like that happens. We have appointments that we need to go through and whatnot. So we'll work around it. But just I would just try your best to be here as much as possible. Otherwise, you just know you're gonna have a little bit more work in the evening that you're gonna need to make up on. And then last but not least, just reply with confirmation if you ever receive messages or emails from staff members. So like I said, a lot of our initial contact is going to be back and forth on Slack. So sometimes I may give you an answer to a problem and maybe you feel like I didn't warrant a response. Just give me a thumbs up. Just respond with a little thumbs up. It let me know that you saw the message. It let me know that I work. So that way I just know that you don't really need anything else from me. Sometimes I send you a message and then I don't get any feedback back or no response and I don't really know, did that help them? Do they still need help? So if you just feel like you don't really need to respond to something, you can still just give it a thumbs up or emoji or just something to let me know that you at least saw it. Any questions about communication?
Do they have a Discord group here?
Discord, we pretty much use Slack for everything. I think there is one Discord that the alumni use for like mixers, like they'll host like alumni events that alumni will go to. But as far as just like miscellaneous chatter, I think everyone just uses Slack.
They don't have a Discord.
No, I think it's just Slack, yeah.
So I'm gonna carry on.
All right, the next one is reliability. So our employers are counting on you when they hire you onto a team, so they need to know that they can trust you. So what does that mean in the workplace? It means you want to follow through on your commitments. You want to give your work your full attention. And then you also want to make sure that you communicate if a commitment becomes unrealistic. I remember this is something that I struggled with a lot in my last job because I just got hired. I wanted to show to my team that I was this hot new developer. I don't need no help. I'm fully capable. This is what you hired me to do. But I was an agency, so it was not uncommon for me to work on like 3 or 4 projects at a time. And so I would have to hop between 3 different projects and maybe one has a deadline on Friday and then another one has a deadline of next Tuesday and et cetera, et cetera. So sometimes, it's like the week of at the end of the week and I have a project due at the end of the week, but I've had too much pride to admit that I've been struggling and needed help or whatnot. And so then on Monday, I bring it up in my meeting. Well, I'm a little bit struggling, I'm falling behind. I'm not sure I'm going to meet the deadline. And now I got an angry boss. I got an angry client. So you want to try to communicate as much as possible and as early as possible. So when you start your job, you're usually going to have these meetings called stand-up meetings. And that's usually you're going to start your morning and you're going to talk about what you're working on that day, if you need help with anything, if you're struggling with anything. And those are great opportunities for you to voice kind of your workload and where you're at. So if I was smart, what I would have said was, last week, the week before, I would have been like, hey, I have 3 projects I'm working on. This one project I'm working on, I'm really struggling with. I can't get this one feature to work. I may need some help or some assistance. And by me voicing that in my meeting, my boss now gets an update of where I'm at. And then they can rebalance the workload. So then my boss will be like, okay, well, Sean, looks like you really need some help today. Dan, why don't you, stop working on this project and why don't you help out Sean this morning? And that way, like, we can kind of organize a plan together. But you want to voice that, because our boss, much like my fiance, is not a mind reader. They can't just read what's going on in our heads, right? And know what's wrong with us. We have to voice and communicate those issues. So it's the same thing with our workload and whatnot too. If we feel like we're not going to be able to complete something, we want to communicate that as early as possible. What does that mean at LearningFuze? It means you want to be on time and in class every single day. I will be starting class at 9 a.m. always. So I will, if we sometimes will have a Q&A in the morning. So I will be starting off the Q&A at 9 a.m. As far as in person, that means that you're in your seat at your desk at 9 a.m. ready for it to go. For Zoom, that means you're in the Zoom call at 9 a.m. ready for the Q&A to start. So just be on time, be here every single day. If you have a tendency to note that you're late a whole lot, this would be a great opportunity to try to fix and change and work on the habit in your life, because no one's going to want a continuously late employee. So work on being here at 9 a.m. If you realize you're always 15 minutes late, why don't you start working and leaving 15 minutes earlier? Start working on that. Also complete all assigned work. So we'll have exercises, we'll have challenges, we'll have projects that we're going to go throughout. So just it's expected that you'll complete all of it. And then communicate if you're unable to complete an assignment or make it to class on time. So we were kind of talking about that, but if you're, realize there's an accident on the freeway, something's just preventing you from making it on time, shoot me a message so that way I can know ahead of time. And then, yeah, just communicate, and just let me know where you're at. Any questions about reliability? All right. Only a couple more. I know it's not the most enjoyable. So grit. So employers are looking for candidates who don't give up easily. They want to hire people who are willing to stick to tough problems and get things done. So in the workplace, what does that mean? It means be ready to take on challenges. This was something I struggled with at first, especially because in my previous career, I feel like I was never really challenged. So I always was kind of nervous about challenges at first because I was like, oh, well, what if I don't know how to do something or whatnot? So, but as developers, you want to be ready to take on challenges. Challenges are growth. Challenges are how we learn. So being able to work on anything challenging, there's a lot of growth and knowledge that comes from that. Be okay with getting out of your comfort zone. So this is just like what we're talking about, where we need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. A large portion of being a developer is working on a project that maybe you haven't worked on before, having to get familiar with a new tool, a new language. So you want to find a way where you feel comfortable with being uncomfortable. And then remember that your team wants you to succeed. Everyone at your job wants you to succeed. Your boss did not hire you because they want you to fail. Your coworkers don't want you to fail. They want you to succeed because it makes their life easier as well, right? So your whole team, they want to support you. So just remember that. I know it can feel like at times you feel challenged, you feel like you're in it alone, but a large portion of my last job, my favorite parts of my last job were actually helping my coworkers, because then I got to talk about code with someone else. We got to work through things together. Your team generally wants to help you succeed. And at LearningFuze, what does that mean? It means stay calm when you're feeling challenged. You are gonna face lots of challenges. You're gonna be writing code. You're not gonna understand why that code's not gonna work. You're gonna beat yourself up about it. Okay, just take a breather. Do not punch your monitor, please. I've had people punch a monitor. We don't need to do that here. If you notice that you're about to punch your monitor, maybe just go out, step outside, touch some grass or something. I'm not sure. But if you're ever feeling challenged, feel free to take a break. You can just get up, go outside, clear your head, whatever it is. At my last job, I remember my first month, I just felt like so overwhelmed that during my lunch, I used to just go in my backyard and just like lay in the sun for like an hour and just absorb the sun, just because it helped me get the energy I need to go back. So whatever you need, but you will feel challenged, but just remove yourself from the situation, think about it. Try again if you don't get something right the first time. A lot of development is just persistence. Just keep on trying and trying and trying. You're not always going to get it right, but just keep on trying. And then remember that the LearningFuze team wants you to succeed. Obviously, all the instructors want you to succeed from a technical level, but we want you to succeed in everything in life in general too, throughout your whole career journey. So you can obviously come to us for instructor help. If you have personal issues or things going on, feel free to talk to Annalicia, any of the admin team. So just from wherever you're at, anything you're struggling with, the LearningFuze team just wants to be there and they want to be able to help you succeed. Any questions on grit before we go to competence? All right. The last but not least is competence. So competence, so employers are hiring technical professionals for technical roles. So you can see out of all the ones that we've talked about so far, this is the first one that is purely technical oriented, right? The other ones, they kind of had some maybe technical things here or there, but this is like the first thing fully on technical. So a study where one of our career coaches shared at one point is I think it's 70 or 75% of your success on the job is purely because of soft skills. So regardless of how good you get technically, if you can't communicate effectively, if people feel like they can't really gel with you, they feel like they can't really talk with you, they feel like they can't really interact with you, you're gonna have a harder time to get a job. So regardless of how smart you get, no matter how much you absorb all of this, you also need to be able to work on your soft skills, which is why we do stuff like code reading, which is why we emphasize the whiteboard interviews, which is why we work on communication, and why I'm not necessarily just teaching you how to write code, I'm teaching you how to become an employee, you know, a good actual engineer. Because I don't know if you've ever had a job where like you hated the job, but you loved your coworkers so much that they kind of made the job a little bit more bearable. You know, it's people really enjoy when they have good people that they work along. So just working on those soft skills is really, really important. Rukai, I saw that you unmuted for a second. Did you have a question or anything? No? Okay. So what does this mean in the workplace? It means you can apply technical solutions to technical problems. Share what you learn with the team. You're going to be on a team of developers. So if you ever found something interesting, chances are maybe someone else on your team found something interesting. So you can feel free to kind of share that knowledge around. Learn all you can from your seniors. You want to try to absorb as much as you can from your seniors because they were in your shoes at one point in time. So they're usually always very open and like want to help out because they realize what they've been through and if they can help you get past that. So you want to try to absorb as much as you can. At my last job, I was fortunate enough where like I had a mentor and I used to have like weekly meetings. So for like 30 minutes or 45 minutes a week, I used to be able to just ask him anything. And we could go over any project I was working on and I could ask for help. I could ask for, you know, just questions. Oh, how would you have done this? I could have just asked them questions in general about like his life or just anything. But just having that time really helped me in my personal growth because it allowed me to really get the assistance from him that I needed and to move on. But you want to try to absorb as much as you can from your seniors. At LearningFuze, what does this mean? Focus on steadily increasing your skills. Right now, you're at the bottom of the mountain and you're looking all the way at the top of the mountain, and it's easy for you to just want to go straight to the top of the mountain. But you got to remember that you got to go base camp to base camp to base camp. You can't just immediately jump all the way to the top. So as long as you see yourself steadily improving, that's really what we're looking for, is that we're not looking for this huge moment of growth, but just week in and week out, you see yourself getting stronger and stronger. That's what we're looking for. Stay curious and eager to apply what you learn, and then assess your knowledge and abilities regularly. So maybe at the end of the week, think about maybe some concepts or things that you struggled on throughout the week. Maybe you know that that's an area of improvement that you can work on. So then maybe, you know, over the weekend, maybe spend some time, you know, furthering those concepts or revisiting some of that documentation or some of those exercises. Awesome. And that's it for these slides. Did anyone have any questions about these before we move on? All right. And let's also go over the expectations. So let me share these with you too. Yeah.
This question, are you like from a like a programming background or just?
For me?
Yeah.
Yeah, in a second, we can do that now. Actually, let's jump into introductions so we can have everyone introduce themselves. Stop our